Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk call roll, please?
Councilor Bowles.
Here.
Councilor Burlow.
Here.
Councilor Rizzo.
Here.
Councilor Reeskamp.
Here.
Councilor Stauber.
Here.
Councilor Steinhebel.
Here.
Thank you, and our city attorney's out today. Tonight on the consent calendar, we have the agenda for tonight. We have appointments to the Arts Commission, Keith Cooch, and the Budget Committee, Tom Wells. We have the board minutes from the Arts Commission, Library Advisory Committee, Planning Commission, and we have council minutes from February 12th and February 26th. We have a liquor license for a new off-premises liquor license at the Lebanon Liquor Store.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The consent calendar has been approved. Proclamation, presentation, and recognition. First up, we have National Child Abuse Prevention Month. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, whereas National Child Abuse Prevention Month began in 1983 as part of a presidential proclamation to raise awareness of the alarming rate at which children were being abused and neglected. And whereas our children are the most valuable resources and will shape the future of our community. And whereas every child deserves to grow up in a healthy, safe, and nurturing environment. And whereas child abuse and neglect causes psychological, emotional, and physical harm, which can create lifelong problems for abuse victims, thereby impacting our entire society. And whereas parents, families, and communities can help reduce child abuse and neglect by recognizing that prevention starts with each of us. And whereas the City of Lebanon encourages everyone to display blue ribbons or pinwheels at your home or business during the month of April as part of the National Child Abuse Prevention Month campaign to create awareness of the need to prevent child abuse and neglect. Paul R. Aziz, Mayor of the City of Lebanon. And next up, we've got Stop Distracted Driving Month, Distracted Driving Awareness Month. Whereas distracted driving can result in injuries and deaths to motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists. And whereas the health and well-being of Lebanon's citizens are a direct result of increased awareness about the dangers of distracted driving, which occurs when drivers divert their attention away from the task of driving and focus on another activity. And whereas 80% of all crashes and 65% of all near crashes can be attributed to some form of driver distraction. Whereas it is estimated that 1.6 million crashes per year can be attributed to cell phone talking and texting while driving. And whereas distracted driving is a serious, preventable, life-threatening practice, Lebanon motorists should dedicate themselves to adopting and maintaining safe behavior while behind the wheel. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Paul R. Aziz, Mayor of the City of Lebanon, proclaim April as Distracted Driving Awareness Month and encourage all residents to increase their awareness of the dangers of distracted driving and promise to protect each other on the road through distraction-free driving behavior. Another proclamation, it's National Library Week coming up. Whereas libraries help change lives in their communities, campuses, and schools, and whereas librarians work to meet the changing needs of their communities, including providing resources for everyone and bringing services outside of library walls, and whereas libraries and librarians bring together community members to enrich and shape the community and address local issues, and whereas libraries offer programs to meet community needs, providing Lebanon residents with story times, the summer reading program and the Lego Club, Genealogy Society, and the Gift of Literacy. And whereas libraries continuously grow and evolve in how they provide for the needs of every member of their community. And whereas libraries, library staff, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Paul R. Aziz, Mayor of the City of Lebanon, proclaim April 19th through the 25th, 2020, as National Library Week and encourage all residents to visit the library this week to take advantage of the wonderful resources that are available. Okay. Next up, I have a little recognition here. We have a special presentation for someone who has worked on our planning commission for over 20 years, and that is John Brown. He's a true Lebanite, born and raised in the city. Being part of the city for so long, Joe knows everyone, and it's said that he treats everyone with the same friendship, honor, and integrity. During his time on the commission, he helped make a lot of decisions that helped frame the development of the city, including the contentious Walmart project, citing the Boys and Girls Club, and participating in the comprehensive plan process. With his retirement from the commission, we'd like to honor him for his dedication to the city and years of work he has put to make Lebanon the town that we are today. And I want to personally thank John. I worked with him 2000, 2002, and we worked on the planning commission together, and we sat through those long nights with the Walmart event, and boy, that was a tough one. So I appreciate all of your work, and if you come up here right in front of the chief room, I have a little award for you. Yep. I'll come out to you then. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your service.
Thanks, John.
Okay, next up we have the presentation. Actually, Rebecca Grizzle, the Chamber of Commerce Director, will be presenting that tonight.
Oh, my.
Wow.
Seats.
It's a pretty big deal.
I don't have a fancy PowerPoint, and it really is a little intimidating coming and looking at you guys from this angle. I don't like it. But I did give you a presentation package. Way back when in 2000, if anybody remember, it was 2006, 2007, this body charged the Tourism Committee with the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce to take the transient taxes and allow grant applications and review those applications and disperse the funds as requested by this body. You can see the goal percentages. Special events, 10% went to special events, 10% went to sporting events, 72% at $40,595 went to special projects, and Tourism Connection was $42.75. The special projects, the reason that is so much larger this year is the sign, the lighted sign that is outside of the chamber, so those funds helped to support that, which has really made a big difference. I don't know if anybody's driven by, but I think you notice the chamber much more now, and we're able to highlight a lot of events that are going on in the city. So, and there is a list of the grants that were funded, along with some other promotional material. But I did put in here tourism guidelines. We had, this is one of the first things I worked on for tourism. The application referenced see tourism guidelines, and there really weren't any guidelines. The committee really wanted to stay within the guideline of 25% sporting events, 25. These, as they're broken out, that's what this body told the chamber. This is how we'd like those funds split out when we give them to you. So they try to stay really close within that. But one of the things that we didn't tell applicants was, look, if it's $1,000 or more, we're really looking for heads in beds. So tell us in your application why your event is going to cause people to stay in Lebanon, go to a restaurant, get a hotel room. Is it a multi-day event, or is it a 1 hour event? Is it a 3-day event or an afternoon soccer tournament? So I just made a copy of that for you guys to look at, and beyond that, I would entertain any questions. I know all of the things now. I've been on the job 2 months. I know everything.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you and the previous council, because since I've been on, we haven't had to do
Yes.
allocation of funds. And I know I heard some of the horror stories of the long nights and meetings where tons of people would come in and ask us. I think it really simplifies the process, and your group and the folks on the committee that approve these things, they're the ones that actually really dig into it and have time to look and see if these events are worthwhile. So we really appreciate it, and it just shows that the money's being spent wisely with you
Yeah,
guys keeping an eye on it like that.
With my city councilor hat, I always appreciated just not having to look at every $500, $2,000, every little grant. We spent a lot of time on council in my early days, hashing over those, trying to decide who gets money. And we're not tourism experts here. This body is not a tourism body, so.
Good. Questions?
No, I appreciate you guys work with that as well. I think, it's a great relationship, like you said. And tourism is your guys' specialty, not council, so.
Yeah.
And I think that sign is a big plus, too.
Oh,
I really
I
like
love
going
it.
by there and seeing the current events, and it's constantly changing, and you can have it change in the middle of the week if you need to, and it's really nice.
Yeah, it's a great benefit for the community. There's been a lot of nonprofit events that people can come in and say, hey, can you highlight this up on your reader board? And
Nice.
It's really nice. Big asset. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
That hat comes off.
Next up, construction excise tax by Lebanon School District. I believe I saw Tom, or who's going to present that?
Well, I see.
Okay.
Or somebody else.
Good evening, Mayor, Council President, members of the council. Appreciate your time this evening. My name is Will Lewis. I'm the business director for the school district, and I'm here this evening to talk about the construction excise tax and give some information. We've got some slides, but I'm going to start off with kind of a history. This has been a partnership between the city and the school district since 2017, and at that time, there was a group put together that included the city, the school district, the college, as well as the community members, and there was a checklist put together of things that were needed to be done in order to proceed with the construction excise tax. Okay. The big one that was needing to be updated was the long-range facilities plan. The school district at that point, the big one on the checklist, okay? At that point, the school district went out and got 4 grants from the Oregon Department of Education and was able to secure the funding to get Soda Architects to review our long-range facilities plan. And then we had the opportunity of presenting to the board, the school board, over a couple of meetings. The plan's about 350 pages, so there's a lot of detail there. And now it's been approved by the board. So that is really the task. The final piece of the task list is now done and complete. So from that perspective, I'd like to kind of review what construction excise tax is, so we're all on the same page. Also, one quick thing, the long-range facilities plan is required by Senate Bill 1036, which is the construction excise tax. So prior to that, that's kind of a checklist from the legal perspective as well. Okay, slide number 1. These are, oh, thank you, sorry. Okay.
We have self-service here.
Yeah, that's great, yeah. All right. So what is a construction excise tax? It's taxing authority for a school district. We don't have that option very often. So this is an opportunity for school districts to recoup some costs based on growth. The tax is on square footage. And so if we have a 1,200 square foot home, when the building permit comes in, we have a fee associated with that square footage. There's some exemptions, minimum exemptions, that we would need to clearly articulate in all of our documentation. It's dedicated to capital instruction. That's really a critical one. We can't just throw this in our custodial budget. It's got to go to capital construction, which is really identified in that long-range facilities plan. And it's locally determined. Obviously, this is our community. We're all here tonight, so we can determine this tax here. We don't necessarily have to go to Lynn County or the state to do it. General information. So tax is on new or old square footage. I put a question mark in there because that's something our board of directors is looking at. We have the option of looking at just new construction or new construction and or remodel. The maximum is $1.35 per square for residential and then 65 cents per square for non-residential with a $33,700 cap. This is paid by the person who's applying for the permit. So we'll go back to our 1,200 square foot example. You're going to build a 1,200 square foot home. The person walks in, they get a permit, and it's paid for at that time. There's some exemptions in regards to what the tax is exempted from, and that's from private schools, public buildings, and you can see hospitals, churches, etc. Most nonprofits is where this comes in at. The annual rate of increase is here, and this is based on the construction cost index. The key that I want to bring forward here on this one is our board right now is working through the details, and we're obviously 1920. We're looking at whether to go a lower rate all the way up to the max is what, and basically we're looking at 125 to 135 is the rate we're discussing. The school board's discussing at this point. And then obviously there's the maximums, and that just goes up based on the construction cost index every year. Allowable expenses. As I mentioned earlier, you can't necessarily put it in your deferred maintenance budget, if you will. It's acquisition of land, construction, acquisition, and installment of equipment furnishings. What is the idea behind the construction excise tax? The idea is how can we incorporate new growth into our schools? So if we have 100 housing development that's being developed right now, how do we incorporate that into our schools? We know, based on data, that good quality facilities has a direct impact on student outcomes. So our goal is to keep our facilities at the highest level. Well, if we're incorporating affordable housing into a school boundary, how can we incorporate that in? And that's really what the design behind this money is. And it obviously can't be operating costs or routine maintenance. Steps for implementation. I want to talk a little bit about this. So the number one bullet point there is the big one, and that's done. The long-range facilities plan is done. And just to let you know, with the long-range facilities plan, it's everything, including seismic. So we've gone through and had architects and engineers get up in the rafters, dig around into HVAC systems, so we know where we're at right now, and the deferred maintenance and where we're at from a roofing perspective, et cetera. And just kind of an exciting piece, we're applying for what's called the SRGP grant right now, which is a seismic upgrade grant for Lebanon High School. So that's an opportunity for us to look at those options now that we have that long-range facilities plan in place. So and now we talk entering into the IGA with local government. So that would include Lynn County and this city. And we've been in communication with the city for about the last 6 months. We've had a few meetings, and we've talked about the options. And this is something that's been well developed in other school districts and other communities. So we're not reinventing the wheel when it comes to contracts or anything like that. And then enacting the construction excise tax. Basically, I'm coming to you to provide information as our community partner, let you know the checklist is done, and now the school board would like to proceed. Tomorrow night, school board meeting, we'll be discussing the levy rate and then the options that are available on the outside, which is new construction versus new construction and or add-on construction. And then after that, once that's been done, we come back, we finalize a contract with the city, the intergovernmental agreement, and then at that point, once that's done, we go back and get a final approval by the board of directors. They sign off, the school board, they sign off on it, and then we begin collection. And that was a lot of information in a very short period of time, so I'm opening it up to questions here.
Wayne, go ahead.
Couple of school districts that have implemented this.
Yes, Albany implemented about 5 years ago, and then Corvallis is also implementing, has implemented in the past. Albany was really the standard bearer, if you will, in our county. They started it quite a while ago. And okay, did that answer your question? Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect.
Robert,
have you done an analysis about what would bring in on an annual basis?
So back of the napkin analysis. And what I mean by that is we don't necessarily track, the city doesn't necessarily track square foot by building permit. So what we did was we backed into the number. I went to a couple local contractors saying approximately what is a current build out per square foot, and they gave me that figure and we backed into the number. In this environment, we got to be careful when we throw a number out there. So what I've been telling the board of directors is we believe it's very safe to come out and say that it will be $200,000 a year. If you've ever analyzed the building permit activity in this city, it goes in trends. And so by month, you can have months where you won't have any building permit activity or onesies and twosies, and then the next month, which is obviously right about now from springtime through summer, houses are getting knocked out, so contractors are coming in and getting building permits. So you could have a month where it's only $300-400, and then the next month it's $20,000 because of the trends in construction in the community. So to answer your question, that was a long answer. $200,000 is the number we're working off of. We think it will come in more than that.
And so the IGA between our two entities is basically collections.
Yes.
Collecting.
Yes. And so just to be aware, the city can collect a fee for that, and so that's a part of the agreement.
Oh, we will.
Yeah, right. Right on. But it's so
large fee.
Huge. Yeah, exactly. So that's a part of the agreement, just to cover costs and things like that.
And when do you have an approximate time frame when you plan on coming back to us with the IGA?
We would like to do it as soon as possible. So within the next month or so. Just to let you know, our attorneys just started the review process of the IGA. We'll send it over to your group, and then we'll go from there. And basically, the attorney's looking at it from a perspective of a lot of this has already been done, but it's been done quite a while ago, so let's make sure we update all the appropriate documentation with the current rules.
Okay.
Do you know what the Albany and Corvallis the city charges?
Yes, so Albany has never increased. They started off at $1 and have not increased at that point. There are school.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What?
For how long was that? About
5
years? How many?
Yeah, about 5 years.
5 years. Okay.
So they have not updated on an annual basis. I would say many major metropolitan areas will update every single year. Corvallis is one that will update every year as well. So they're at 135.
No, I mean as far as a percentage for the IGA for the city and the school.
Oh, okay. So I'm just going to fully disclose what I know here because I think it's important. City of Albany and Albany School District were really the first ones in Lynn County. It was a 1% fee. I think what I've heard from our city partners is that was too low. The maximum is 4%, so we're going to come in quite a bit higher. Basically, what the City of Albany communicated back to us was, hey, that's not enough to cover our costs. So we want to be good partners. We want to make sure we're covering the appropriate cost.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have a presentation from Build Lebanon Trails.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Dear Rod.
I know all of you, but I haven't presented to many of you, all the new counselors. So this is all about Build Lebanon Trails, and I'm excited to be here to tell you a little bit about what's going on and what we've been doing. But I got to get my reading aids out here.
Cheaters.
Okay. So I'm going to whip through this pretty quick because I know you have a lot on your agenda. As I figure out which button to push. Where to find it? Over here. Aha. Okay. Let's see here. The old eyes. Do you mind if I get closer? I don't want to.
Not this
I
side.
really don't want to get in the ring. I don't want my back to anybody. So the reason Build Lebanon Trails can exist is because of partnerships. And the biggest partnership, of course, is with you, is with the city of Lebanon. And, you know, we've seen many examples of that. And I think the most recent example is the 3 bridges that are out at Cedar Lake. What a wonderful project. So the city went and covered the cost and installation of the two new bridges, the newest bridges, and then a partnership with the city and Dr. Ted and Joanne Nelson and Rick Franklin Corp. Put in the first bridge and the largest bridge. But those partners aren't just limited to in town. We had partners outside of town. And Forest and Crane came in and installed it. But that was more than, of course, we couldn't be here without the community and the business partners that we have. So what are we trying to do? Well, this is our most recent trails map, and we want to get rid of those dotted lines. So our goal is to make all of those yellow, solid yellow lines and really create that interconnection of trails in our system. So what are the highlights? We have the 3 pedestrian bridges, and the importance of that is we're starting to bring together the interconnection of the city. So it creates a continuous, accessible trail, off-street trail that's going to connect our whole community together. And then the city just completed the Russell Drive Trail. It's a wonderful trail. If you go by Porter Park, all the flowers are coming out. It's just a beautiful trail. But that's another connection to the trail system, bringing other neighborhoods together and connecting parks with other parks. So another big highlight for us is our elite volunteer program. We're in the 2nd year of that. So that's really been a very successful program for us because it's taken volunteers that wanted to take a little more commitment, do a little bit more for us, and it's really made a big difference in the sustainability of Bill Lebanon trails, the sustainability of the maintenance on the trail system, and be able to have the energy to do all the community outreach that we do. So we're really lucky to have those people with us. Trail signs, we had a collaboration last year that was with the Arts Commission, with local college students, and with the city, and we came up with wonderful sign designs that the city installs for us along all the trails, and we're still doing improvements to that design. We completed the BLT bike rack project, which is 11 bike racks that are around town. We installed 25 benches, so these are the resting benches, and another amenity that's really important to the trail system, because what we're finding is we get people to a place to go and to sit, and they'll go farther, and they'll be there more often. And then we're continuing to plant new trees. We have over 230 now. Oh, wow. That one's way out of whack. Okay, well, talk about that. So the Elite Volunteer Program, you're going to see people all over town, all over the trails, with these bright vests on now. That's our elite volunteers that are out there, and they're doing trail maintenance projects. They're picking up litter and talking to people and really helping us with the whole process of building trails. These are one of the wayfinding signs. Wayfinding because that's what they're there for, is to help people find their way to all those little insignias and chevrons that are on there are really important to letting people know what's coming up. So we have a lot of high priority projects. Actually, the whole trail system is a high priority project. But the Old Mill Trail is on the top of the list. On your council packets was the latest map of that, and what that does is a 4,100, it's a 4,000 revised bill, I think. 4,100, it's a premier trail, not like we ever built before. It's going to be light, fully accessible, and through just a wonderful area. It's going to be 12-foot wide. And along across the Old Mill property, which you may know is a warehouse or Willamette Industry property. I know you know it. And so it's prime, and other partnerships the Jeff Henry Foundation, which just donated a trail right away to the city. Again, here we are connecting all the community, all the community and all the parks together. There's 5 parks that are connected with this one trail. So we're really making that hub that's bringing the whole community together. And we're well on the way with this project. We have a very substantial pledge from Dr. Ted and Joanne Nelson, and they provided a $50,000 challenge grant. So you'll see in the packet information and around the community, we're being challenged to raise $50,000 towards the Old Mill Trail project, and we're easily going to do that. Not easily, but with a lot of effort to do that. So far, we already have $250,000 currently raised of private money, and we haven't even started going out for the grants yet. We started. There's 2 that are in process right now. So the Old Mill Trail. But we have other priorities. There's a lot of priorities, and we will have to stay right on the work because the future of the trail system depends on us being there and working all the time on these projects. So a connected trail between the youth soccer field and the North Shore Trail at Cheetah Lake. So it's a high priority project set by the city, by the Trees and Trails Committee, and by Bill Levin Trails. And we've already collected $39,000 in pledges towards that project. So we're committed to that project also. We want to connect the trails from Haverline Park to Dr. Thad Nelson Trail, which is a section there that the city of Albany owns. That is, you have to do a bridge across Mark Slough. Probably our hardest project to get in yet, and we're going to keep working on it until it happens, because we believe it's a public safety issue with keeping people off of Leader Street, but also part of the aesthetics of the trail. It's a continuous trail where you don't have to go on and off the road. Really important piece that the city is working with the city staff here is working with the city of Albany on is the connection between Haverline Park and River Park. There's a big chunk of city of Albany property that's just north of River Park. So we're almost getting to Haverline Park. And so in the next year or two, you're going to see even greater expansions of the trail system. So we have a second phase of our commemorative resting bench project. It's phase 2. We have 20 benches that are sitting, we have them stored, we're ready to go, but we don't have that on trails. So we're going to build trails for those. We have 8 that can go on to the Old Mill Trail when it's built. So that's another part that we're just going to continue on making more and more amenities for the parks, for the trails, and including more trees. So I'm about done talking. We're going to look at some pictures here soon. But in the near future, there's a real demand in town for soft surface trails. So we have a great opportunity with the Old Mill Trail project. There's all the property that's down below the dike towards the river, and the city already has 18 acres there that has the Eagle Scout Trail, soft surface trail on it. So with this one project and the changing of ownership of that land, we're going to be able to connect the soft surface trail from Gill's Landing all the way into Riverview Park. So you'll see that coming in the near future. To make continuous loops and trails, we want to connect the thumb trail and the third finger. We want to pave those, but then we also want to put a walk bridge across from the soccer field area, the new development area that's going to be developed by the city of Cheetah Lake, over to the thumb to create another access, so you don't have to go all the way to get around to get to the fingers. And we want to build a bridge between the first and third finger, and of course the Burkhart Creek trail extension. So next
Ron,
week,
excuse me. The soft surface trails, are those wheelchair accessible or not?
the soft surface, no. Well, they are, but it wouldn't be just a regular chair. Because it's
Okay.
a gravel.
So it's
gravel.
gravel.
They're pretty rough.
Okay.
Now, they're narrow.
Just curious.
It can be.
Well, and it's in locations that you wouldn't want.
You wouldn't be going
no,
anyways.
No,
Yeah.
it wouldn't meet ADA in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and it's susceptible to some pretty bad weather conditions down there. Oh, pictures. Can you imagine that change that quickly? That's the 5 bridges projects, and it's getting ready to open soon. So that, right around.
Soon, yes, soon.
I think we're going to use it for our May 2nd event. Either way, we're going to have the police.
Will you have a grand opening or do?
Yes.
We'll know about it.
Becca wants to cut a ribbon. Is that
I
what I'm
want
hearing?
to. I want to use that trail.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah, we did a good job of blocking off so we can keep the people safe. So we're moving along these Riverview Trail. These are examples of some of the benches. Riverview Trail is where we're hooking the Old Mill Trail into. Of course, a wonderful project that was done by the city really changed that whole neighborhood. That doesn't look like a blighted neighborhood. It used to look like a blighted neighborhood. And Bill Levin Trails does outreaches all the time. And in fact, this weekend, we were at Cheetah Lake Water Trail. Come on out and join us and find out that there really is a water trail out there with interpretive signs. Our big event that's getting to be bigger every year is the Kids Dash, and that's happening in May 2nd. This year, we have 150 free registrations that provided by some of our community partners that actually pay for their registration fees. And on that same day, wow, we get the mascot for the baseball.
Baseball.
And he's going to be there again this year. So that's May 2nd, our one big fundraiser of the year. We do a trail tour by bicycle the last 2 years. Petticoat bike out of Bend, actually brought electric bikes down from Bend to there, and no charge. And people just love that ride. It's 18 miles, by the way. A lot of people don't have electric bikes and ride it. We have the bug crawl. We have an entomologist that comes out and works with the kids and shows them all about nature and the little animals. And pause on the pavement, so you start to see a pattern here. Hitting all the different factions that use the trails and trying to
You're good. You know you're good.
Sorry.
10 minutes.
So, and we couldn't do it without all the volunteers. So we've got great volunteers, and it's a growing number of volunteers. These, the DOT Water Brigade, those 230 trees, well, they're there because of this group, who they talked about shutting down this year because the trees are getting bigger, and volunteers are so excited they're going to convert over to more trail maintenance, more of that sustainability that we're talking about, helping the city cover their costs with the trails. And why does it all happen? Because these people won't stop. We can't get these volunteers to quit with smiles on their faces. This is the bike rack we put in. This was on a really rainy, icky day. We're out at Cheetah Lake, and everybody is really happy. So it's easy for us to get the volunteers. We are done. Does that answer the question?
Questions?
That's really amazing, and I just want to really thank you guys for doing what you're doing. It's so, my dog thanks you for the Hat Irvine one and the Cheetah Lake one, because we go out there a lot with her. It's just amazing, really. I just thank you guys for doing this for our community.
You're welcome. We love it.
Even
We use the trails too. So
the obstacle dash takes about 30 plus volunteers just for the kids' obstacle dash, because we want safety to be our concern. So if you want to volunteer, let us know.
You lost me at kids.
Except your grandbaby.
No, thank you so much. I adore the dedication in your whole group. It's amazing to think back. When was BLT started?
2005.
2005. So in the last 15 years, what a major asset for Lebanon. It makes you proud to be a part of Lebanon.
Thank you.
So thank you for.
And I wanted to thank you for because your presentation talked about the Lebanon Tourism Commission.
Yes.
And we were awarded one of those grants. So we're going to take that money and we're matching it against the challenge grant. And then we're going to take the challenge grant money, we're going to match it again against a trails grant. So one donation has effectively 3 different outcomes. So all positive outcomes.
It's great.
Bring in more funds.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, Ron, I just want to thank you and the whole group. The accessibility is just outstanding on those trails. That it really makes it nice, makes it so that people like me that just want to go for a stroll can do that, and couldn't do that before.
Well,
So
we couldn't do it without the city and all our volunteers.
well, we appreciate your work too, and I will be out there with you guys. I guess I'm
Yes, you will.
I'm a little part of the program in
You're
May,
on
so
the-
we'll see you out there.
Yep, and then one of our elite volunteers is the wife of the person that wrote the access manual for the Forest Service.
Oh,
brand
wow.
new one. So
Excellent.
that's going to be happening now. We're going to come into more of the universal design, where we're trying to design things so that they fit everybody's needs, but they take into
Great.
consideration anybody with any kind of a challenge.
Great. Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Ron. Thank you.
Rod?
Okay, next up, we have the Lebanon Strawberry Festival Board. Not the whole board. We don't want to have to call a board meeting right in the middle of our council meeting.
No, I don't want to do that. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Most of you know who I am. I am Cindy Kirby. I am the current board chairperson for the Lebanon Strawberry Festival. This is Brandy. She is the vice chairperson for the Lebanon Strawberry Festival. We are here tonight to talk about the Star Spangled Celebration. So we recently decided, because we are crazy, that we are going to take on the Lebanon Star Spangled Celebration that the Lebanon Community Foundation has since decided to kind of retire from. So we want to do that this year. We want to offer it for free to the community, so we won't be charging any parking. If somebody wants to give a donation to help pay for the fireworks, they can do so. It's going to be totally funded by scholarship dollars, that hopefully some donations, but mostly scholarship dollars. So currently the Strawberry Festival pays about a little over $4,000 to the city to rent the park for Strawberry Festival. And we recently gave a $100,000 grant to the city for park development. So we're still kind of working with the city on developing the park and trying to continue to use it. So we want to use the park for the Star Spangled Celebration as it has been done previously. The celebration will be from 4 to 11 p.m. Fireworks will be at 10. We want to do on-stage entertainment, activities for the families. We really want it to be a very community-friendly, family-friendly event that they can just come in. The biggest thing we heard when we were going out in the community and asking about the Star Spangled Celebration is people didn't like to have to pay to see fireworks. They felt like they shouldn't have to do that. So we will be fencing in the main part of the park and having some activities inside that area to kind of keep it safe and have extra security. We will be the largest fireworks show in the Willamette Valley. It'll be about 3 times bigger than Brownsville and Harrisburg, which just so happen to be the only 2 fireworks shows left. Albany only does fireworks on 4th of July when 4th of July falls on a Thursday, because it has to do with their River Rhythms celebration. Corvallis is having some issues with their volunteer group, so they haven't decided yet if they're going to do a fireworks show. As we know, Sweet Home doesn't do one. So what we're asking is if the city would be willing to let us rent that park for the day at no cost, so that we can be able to offer that for free to the community.
Cindy, I have a question. When you say funded by scholarship dollars, what does that mean?
Sponsorship dollars.
Oh, sponsorship dollars.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just go out. We're going to go out and get sponsorships from local businesses, because we're bringing in Albany. We have a lot of Albany businesses that kind of want to be involved because they don't have a fireworks show over there. So we expect to bring in Albany, Sweet Home, and some Corvallis.
And when you say that it, have you had a discussion about next year? So if are you asking in perpetuity to use it at no cost, or is that just this year and we'll take next year as it comes? What's the plan? Do you know?
We haven't really. I mean, we're looking at this year right now just to kind of get it off its feet and just see where we go from there. This is really we feel like we're a little bit crazy. It's 3 weeks after the festival.
Yeah.
But we really want the community to have a community event for 4th of July. It's been really important to a lot of people on the board, to their families, to go out. I mean, for several years it's been going on, so we kind of don't want to lose it, especially with so many 4th of July shows going away.
What's been the attendance in the past, roughly?
I don't know exactly. They parked, I think, 500 cars last year, I believe, was the number.
It's been going down annually. We were at 800 cars at one point, but round numbers 500 last year.
And that was with paid parking.
Okay.
So we
this
expect
year it's going to be completely free.
If it's free, I would imagine that would be.
So I would anticipate that we would have a substantial increase in parking.
Which, with the new field, that's going to be great. So much better for parking. That's going to be really up front for the fireworks. We are, for the festival, we're kind of shifting the fireworks back and over just a little bit, so we'll keep that same positioning for the 4th of July event. It'll be the same fireworks company that does our Strawberry Festival now.
So if it's not a fundraiser, right?
Not a fundraiser, no.
Okay.
We just want to do a community. We just want to do another community event because we're a little nuts.
Because you are crazy, super crazy.
You are.
So I mean, we feel like we're the right people to do it, I guess you could say, because we have the equipment out there, we have the tents. We would like to see about leaving the tents up like they've done in the past. We put the tents up for festival, the 2 20 by 20 tents. So we'd like to be able to leave those up for that 3-week period. That's kind of how it's been happening the last several years. We've always left them up after festival. Other than that, there wouldn't be we'd take everything, put everything up in the morning and probably tear it down the next day realistically because it's going to be late.
Okay. We could get a consensus from the council, and then we could direct staff to do that if that's something that council desires.
Absolutely.
Knock yourself out.
Yep.
Thank you.
Wayne?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I'm on board.
Robert?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it would be an amazing thing. The fact that you guys even want to step up and do it, I was a little worried when I heard that we weren't going to have anything, and all these other cities, sort of slowly going away from it. And I just think, what a great thing to give to our community. So I think it's great.
We really want it to be a really family-oriented, come out and spend time with your family and the community.
And I really appreciate the fact that you guys are funding this thing completely, and all you're asking is for a park fee. And I think that is something reasonable that the city could give for the community. It's just like our Strawberry Festival. It's like all those things that the city wants to be behind and be a partner with. So I agree, too. Jason,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we'll direct Ron, and we will waive those fees for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you very
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you for
Good
being
luck.
crazy and doing that for us.
Somebody's got to do it, right?
Okay, next up, we have public comments, and before I read this, If you're going to come up and speak, please make sure you speak into the microphone because we do record this and it's hard to hear in the minutes if you don't speak into the microphone. So citizens may address the council filling out a testimony comment card prior to speaking and hand it to the city recorder. Each citizen is provided up to 5 minutes to provide comments to the city council. The council may take an additional 2 minutes to respond. The city recorder will accept and distribute written comments at a speaker's request. And first up, I have Kay Cortez.
I said I'd be back, and I'm back. So, good evening. I am Kate Cortez. Today I would like to address the City Council with my concerns of increased homeless population in Lebanon. I recognize this is an issue all communities are having to resolve. Unfortunately, I come to you without a solution. I know many communities are trying various options to address the same issue. I am wanting to challenge the city with incorporating funding to assist with the resolution. The funding needs to be a starting point in order to incorporate healthy, viable, and realistic options. I would like to know if there is a clearly written policy in addressing homelessness. Are there practices and policies written already and in place? If so, what entity is assigned with this task, and who is the governance oversight of the program? I know we all have several brilliant items in place to help already. This includes the soup kitchen, Fish, St. Vincent de Paul, and River Center. I have been concerned prior to now, but with the coronavirus taking place, are there plans to address the homeless if this virus spreads in our community? I do not doubt this is indeed an ongoing concern of each of you. I would like to remind each of us that homelessness is not a crime. Those who are homeless deserve the same attention as any other entity within Lebanon. I am concerned many people stereotype those who are homeless are alcoholics, druggies, or who have made poor life decisions. This may very well be true. However, we know there are those who have fallen on bad times. We do have a responsibility to help the greater segment in ways that drive them to help themselves as well. I just felt the need to let you know that there are many concerned citizens like myself that want to see a resolution designed for the homeless. For humanitarian sake, we cannot disregard this segment of our population and community. Respectfully, Kay Cortez.
Thank you, Kay. Chief, would you mind giving a little synopsis of what we've done and kind of where we're at right now?
Sure. So what year was that? About 2 years back.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. I can't remember his name. Came and went out and looked at our homeless population as it stood in Lebanon. From that, we came up with a homeless coalition that was basically all the I guess, affordable housing, church groups that came together under one roof to kind of start talking and addressing some of these issues with the homeless population. And from that, they've formed into a group that addresses such as the needs that you're speaking of today. So there are several entities out there that are addressing some of these same issues that you're talking about today. Affordable housing, the ones that are true homeless that aren't having the behavioral issues, they're trying to seek help for them and trying to get them into some form of housing areas. So it's pretty limited around here, but there are things that are being done. Several of the church groups are going out and assisting and partnered with mental health as well.
Okay.
So,
And just one of the things that when I spoke to the chief that he's mentioned too, is it's hard for the police department or city officials to go out and do anything because they see a uniform and they just freak and they don't want to deal with them because they think that we're out there to arrest them. Even when we were out there one time trying to help them come in and come to the shelter when it was cold and snowing out, they just didn't want to deal with the police officers. They didn't come in.
Are you talking about a shelter here in Lebanon, or
Yes,
asking them to go somewhere else?
No, the warming shelter here. So we were trying to get them to come into the warming shelter, and nobody came in, and they even closed the shelter down because it was just there was nobody showing up. So we are doing some things, and I think that it's pretty proactive. And it's difficult because the police can't be in charge of it because it just looks like it's this paramilitary thing, and they just don't like it.
Right. I mean, even to the point where Dave Albanese, our community resource officer, he goes out, he's very familiar with the majority of the population that we do have. He's going out there almost on a daily basis, talking to them, contacting them, checking up on them, and trying to provide them the necessary resources they need, provide them information of where to seek the help. Like you're saying, it's an issue that it takes the community to just get behind and try to find solutions. But again, we're talking of individuals who choose to be homeless, some of them. The other ones that are falling on hard times and do need the resource will take us up on that resources and get the help that they need. So it's definitely an issue that we've been, especially the City of Lebanon, has been proactive in trying to do all we can to address the issues.
Okay. Thank you.
It was about a year and a half ago, Dave Albanese, our community service officer, came in and gave us a report here and pretty much brought me to tears, I don't know about the rest of the council, about a gentleman who was homeless and he was working with and met out in the park and worked, and the guy ended up getting married. He got a place to stay and live and work. It was an amazing story, and it was all because of Dave being out there caring about him. And it's, my opinion is it's really the way that whole process has to work. It's almost a one-on-one thing because we don't have a ton of homeless. We do have homeless. We don't have a ton. So the people that do want to get help, we try and help and reach out from the police department and when we can, or the other organizations. But I appreciate your concern. Honestly, we are too.
And I want to thank him because he followed up on the speeding on 8th Street when we talked about it.
Very good.
Now, the flashing light did go down. You did put that up, but it would be nice to have it back up because it's stopped people, slowed them down on 8th Street going south, and the speed limit helped too. So that was the last meeting, but thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you, Kay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Cassie Cruz, Lebanon Downtown Association.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Cassie?
How are you all doing? Well, we had an awesome first Friday. I know many of you were over at the Distinguished Service Awards, which I sadly had to miss. But I heard it was a great time and everyone looked beautiful from all the pictures I saw. But I was really excited. This last first Friday was centered around literacy. So it was directed towards kids because it was Dr. Seuss's birthday on March 2nd. And we had given out over 100 passports to children to go to different businesses to kind of take part in the festivities. And so we had over 300 participants in that first Friday. I was excited, and it was just all families, and they would bring their grandparents down with them. And I've talked to you about how downtown wants to expand outside just, to be able to bring everybody in, as far as either to incorporate as far as our community partners into what we're doing downtown. And to expand upon that for next year, we're looking at working with the school district to create for the month of February to kind of prep for Dr. Seuss's birthday in March, to do a reading challenge. So, award the kids who have so many hours they read in the month of February, and award parents or, their adult that's in their life for reading to them, recognizing everyone's at different capability levels. So award the adults in the child's life that read to their kiddo through the month of February, and they log those hours, and then award the child as well. So we'll have that And we'll do those awards, of course, next year for the March First Friday as well. So we're kind of excited about that. The school district was appreciative and, of course, sent that information out to the Tuesday folders. And that's where a lot of our families had came from, just seeing it in the Tuesday folders and just appreciated that their kiddo got to take a picture with Cat in the Hat. To be honest, my daughter, she wasn't actually voluntold this time. I said, hey, Star, do you want to dress up like Cat in the Hat? And she's like, yes. And so she actually really volunteered. But so she went around and had just taken pictures with the kids, and one of the little girls was just so excited, and just at that age where everything was so real. And she was like, Mom, this is the real Cat in the Hat. And she's like, oh, it's someone dressed up. She's like, no, it's not. It's real. And so, and it was a great time. Of course, the 8-year-old boys were saying, you're not the real one. And of course, she was saying shh to them. But it was a good time, and we're looking forward to next month. And next month is going to be our April pub crawl and poker run First Friday, which did really well back in September. It was one of our largest money makers we had. So we're excited about that. And then also we have one thing. It's been really nice. LDA has been a part of since its kind of conception, which is like being involvement with the Arts Commission. When Alicia had my position, she came to all the meetings regularly and just found ways for downtown to be involved with what the Art Commission was doing. That hasn't stopped since, of course, I've taken over the position. And one way we're excited that we're going to be partnering is through the sculpture project that we have going on. And I'm sure through all your notes you've read, we're moving away from turkeys and we're going to bikes this year, bike sculptures. And we're still in the formulation plans of all that. But part of that is talking with Trevor Spangle, that who does the Swift Summit race, which is a 100 to 200-mile race. Oops, one of the only 200-mile races we have in this area. So he's coming on board with us all as well. But we have a lot of stuff, and our concerts committee is doing really well. We have all those bands booked, and Tuesday night's almost booked. And sadly, Real Deals will be closing at the end of the month, but we have 2 bakeries that will be opening up downtown, a French bakery and a German bakery. Wow. I'm excited. I'm going to gain so much weight. I don't even care. I'll be working out. But I'm red. I'm sorry, bye.
That sounds good but bad.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy, but my 5 minutes went by really quick this time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Bill Sullivan?
Evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
Welcome, Bill.
Bill.
You may not want what I got to talk about, definitely. Anyway, on this tax that the school's asking for, that's penalizing the new homeowners, and they get property tax every year. And the seismic deal, they can try it on new buildings existing, but it's like when your better half throws a tantrum. There's no way in hell that you're going to be able to hold that structure in place. They can try to do a lot of things, which cost more for construction and et cetera and so on and so forth. But there's no way that you're going to stop Mother Nature when she throws a tantrum. But like I say, to me, it's a penalty for new homeowners, and they get plenty of property tax. Anyway, I pay a hell of a lot, more than I think I should for schools. But I think it's a bummer.
So I've just got a question for you. So you say that they have enough taxes, but how do we help growth? When the city's growing and more houses come in and more students come in and they have a set level of taxes, and now this is increasing their operating expenses.
Taxes keep going up every year, Paul.
Well, I understand that, but how do you expect to keep up with growth? How is a school supposed to maintain buildings when 300 more children in a couple of years are in a school, which is several classrooms? How does the expansion happen?
Okay, so you got 300 more kids, so let's split it in half. 150 kids, and you got your parents. That's 150 households that you got taxes for.
Okay.
That's, Bill, if I might inject a thought here, most of that is through the general fund. The capital dollars are not really coming through our property taxes for schools. Capital, usually, you've probably voted for or against capital project bonds for schools. Now that's what this money will go to, capital projects.
Well, I didn't know this was going to be on, but if I remember right, last year when I paid my taxes and I was going through it, I think I paid over $1,600 for school tax.
Yeah, and the city doesn't have anything to do with whether we approve this tax or not. We're just collecting the funds for the school district, so you might want to talk to the school district about that.
That meeting is tomorrow night.
Yeah. As long as I'm harping against the school, that's like the city manager signed a contract to do the maintenance for the schoolyards and et cetera. And the article in the paper said there would be 3 people that would do that. I've seen majority of the parks doing what they're doing, and that 100,000, if I remember right, that they're giving you, you're taking it in the shorts.
Anything else?
I love
That's
Bill.
I'm trying to do.
I'm just going to leave it.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Last chance to come up and speak? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move into the regular part of the session. It's 7 o'clock. Let's just take a 5-minute break, and then we'll get back into the regular items. Oh, no.
Huh?
Kelly?
Well, maybe, if you want to.
I don't have that.
Is that in
the procedures?
Is that homeless committee functioning at all?
One that's on the wall.
It could be, but I don't see it on the wall anymore.
It morphed into.
Kelly?
Huh?
Trey reads the procedures. He's not here. And do you have a copy of those?
I don't.
They used to be on the wall. Is that them back there? I didn't even think about that. I was just worried about reading the title.
I didn't either.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but we ought to have.
To the rescue.
Yay.
That committee.
Our hero, Matt.
Individuals from 11.
For the visually impaired. Okay, first up, we have public hearing, annexation A20-01, presented by Kelly Hart.
Well, good evening, everyone. So before you tonight is a quasi-judicial hearing. So as part of the hearing process...
I'm sorry. Let me start that part because I realize that's in the script.
Hey, okay.
And then I'll call you to read the information. How's that?
Okie dokie.
Okay. This is the time placed for the public hearing in the matter of planning file A20-01, a request by 3A Construction LLC to annex property and establish the residential mixed density zone on the newly annexed property. Your patience is appreciated while our development director goes through the required hearing procedures.
Okie dokie. So step 1 is to open up the public hearing. Step 2 would be for the council to identify whether or not they've had any ex parte communication associated with this application or if there's any conflicts of interest. After that, staff, myself, will present a report on the item and answer any questions that the council has. Upon conclusion of any questions from council, we would open to public testimony of the process. Public testimony in favor would go first and must address the criteria or criteria the speaker would argue is applicable. And then it would go to the opposition side, which must address, again, the criteria or criteria speaker would argue what is applicable. and then the rebuttal if the applicant is present. At that point, we would close the public testimony portion of the hearing and it would go back to discussions before the council, and any follow-up questions of staff. Upon conclusion of that would be the hearing body decision and the conclusion of the public hearing.
Thank you. The hearing is now open at 7:14 p.m. Is there anyone in the audience that objects to the notice that was sent out in this case or to the jurisdiction of this body to hear and consider this case? Okay, seeing none. Do any counselors want to declare ex parte contact, conflict, or bias? Seeing none. Will the Community Development Director please present the staff report?
Thank you, sir. So good evening. Before you tonight is a proposed annexation for a property on East Grant Street, which is located on the east side of the South Santiam River. The property is adjacent to city limits for properties to the south, as well as the street is within city limits, and so that makes this property eligible for annexation. Surrounding the property to the north is farmland within the county and is within the exclusive farm use zone. To the east and west are residential properties also within the county but within the urban growth boundary and have a comprehensive plan designation of residential mixed use. And to the south are properties within the city and zoned, again, residential mixed use. Subject property holds a comprehensive plan designation of residential mixed density, and the identified initial zoning would be that same designation, and the applicant accepts that initial zoning designation. Purpose of the annexation is the property would like to connect to city water service, which is available in Grant Street, and there is an existing septic tank on site from a previous residential structure that was there, and so that septic tank would be eligible for use for sewer service purposes. Finally, the site does maintain portions that are within the steep slope overlay. However, there's more than an acre of the site that is identified as developable outside of that overlay, and as such, the property is eligible for construction at urban densities. So that concludes my report. And the recommendation of the Planning Commission and its findings and justification for approval of the application for annexation have been found in your staff report and the proposed order. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Kelly. Council have any questions for staff? Okay, at this time, I'll ask for the applicant's testimony. Is the applicant here? Would they like to speak?
I'm here with Clayton Holmes on behalf of 3A. We're going to put a home on there is what we want to do.
Okay. And what was your name?
Wayne Harder.
Wayne?
Harder, Harder.
Okay. And where do you live? Are you
here in Lebanon?
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else for the applicant? Let's see that. Let's see. Does council have any questions of the applicant? Is there anyone? Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the annexation? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of the annexation? The public hearing is hereby closed at 7:18 p.m. and will be limited to council and staff discussion. Any questions, discussion? Okay. Seeing none, the city attorney's not here, so I will read the title of the ordinance. A bill for an ordinance annexing and zoning property following consent filed with the city council by landowners in said area pursuant to ORS 222.120 and ORS 222.170, file A20-01, 3A Construction LLC, ordinance bill number 2020-04.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance bill 2944. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ordinance passes. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Good job on that sign.
Yes, excellent. We'll get you a copy for your purse.
Oh, great.
Okay, on the regular session, item number 2, authorization to apply for the 2020 local government grant and the 2020 Land and Water Conservation Fund grant from the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department. Ron Whitlatch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. What we have for you here tonight are 2 resolutions to apply for grants. Mayor said what they were, but they're the 2020 Land and Water Conservation Grant and also the large government grant. These would be applied for the old mill trail that BLT was talking about tonight. Sounds like they're well on their way to getting some funding to start that project. And we're doing some of the preliminary estimates on it, and we're at $1 million already. So with the lighting and everything they want to do out there, so that would be good match money to have. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Ron, is your microphone on?
I don't know. Is it off? Now is it on?
It's on.
It's on now. Now you're talking. Can you hear me?
Do you need me to start over?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
Questions? Okay, I'll read the title of the resolution. Resolution authorizing the City of Lebanon to apply for the 2020 local government grant from the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for the Old Mill Trail, Resolution 2020-02. Entertain a motion?
Move to approve?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2020-02. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The resolution is passed. Thank you, Ron. Authorization to provide sewer service outside the City of Lebanon city limits to 820 West Oak Street.
Mr.
Ron
Mayor,
Whitlock.
can we back up?
Second resolution.
There's what?
There's two resolutions there. I'm sorry.
Oh.
There's a second one.
I missed that one. There we go. Resolution, make sure I have the right second one. Okay. This is 2020-04. Resolution authorizing the City of Lebanon to apply for the 2020 Land and Water Conservation Fund grant from the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for the Old Trail Mill, Resolution 2020-04. Entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2020-04. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution's passed. Still getting used to this iPad. I like it. It's really working great.
That's great.
Okay, so now we have the authorization to provide sewer service outside the City of Lebanon city limits to 820 Oak Street, West Oak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. So what we have here is a request for sewer service outside the city limits, which you'd think that's kind of weird, but this is off of Oak Street, right here in town, just west of 9th Street. They are requesting sewer service. They have, part of our municipal code requires that we, or you as a body, agree to that, but the property owner is required to annex, and they are able to annex at this point. They have actually paid the money for the annexation, but they are in an emergency situation to get sewer to the property. So we have the money for the annexation. We don't see any issue with it. And they are requesting that we declare the emergency and allow them to make the connection, and they will go through the annexation process and move forward. So with that, I'm recommending approval of the resolution attached. I can answer any questions.
You have a question.
Go ahead.
What area on that map is actually not city?
You know what? It's bouncing back and forth. I'd have to actually pull it up
I was just
because
curious.
you can look at. I don't have my glasses. So you can see where the boundaries are here. You've got a few parcels. You've got parcels that are.
Is it the ones kind of in the red?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
So 830 is out, 860 is out, 880 is out.
Oh, I see. Okay.
This is where it'd be a benefit. I could see.
I was just curious.
I could see, but
I just didn't even realize those pockets existed down
Yeah, we've
on
got
Oak
several
Street.
pockets there around
Down
9th
there,
Street
yeah.
that exist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Initially, my only question was making sure that that annexation piece was happening, and then
Yes.
I saw that it was like a year thing, and then it all made sense. So, yeah.
We've got some outlaying that there is no physical way for them to annex yet, but they have paid the annexation fee, and as soon as they're contiguous, they will annex, because we're going to run into that more and more. In areas.
Any other questions? Okay, with that, I'll read the resolution number 2020-05, resolution to provide sewer service outside the City of Lebanon city limits.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2020-05. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution's passed. Number 4, approval of manhole cover project design presented by the Arts Commission.
Yes.
Vanessa Smith and Cassie Cruz.
Hey guys, again. Sorry, I do not have Vanessa Smith with me today. She's not feeling well, so she took the responsible act and stayed home. So it's just I this evening.
Part of the Lebanon Strategic 2040 Envision planning was to hold a manhole cover project through the Lebanon's Art Commission. On the 25th, we kicked off making a call to all artists with these 5 different categories that really felt that really captured Lebanon in its essence. We have the wood products era, we've had the wildlife around here, not just turkeys, of course, and the railroads, our strawberry heritage, and of course freestyle, just for something that doesn't fit necessarily one of those, but could still represent Lebanon as a whole. We end up getting over 20 submissions coming through. As you can read there are 5 individuals to which we end up being the winners, and we utilize their designs for these manhole covers. And we end up sending the designs over to Vanessa Smith, graphic artist, and she was able to do some beautiful work with these designs.
Nice.
So this one here, of course, is our Lebanon's wood product era. That one there was one by Skylar Randvliek, and Vanessa did a beautiful job taking that design there and turning to that piece of art.
That's cool.
The next one, of course, is the area wildlife. That there was by Corey Adawan. I'm going to try this and slaughter and get in trouble later. But again, Vanessa, this one was actually a fish that Vanessa made it to give it movement and showed water behind it too. And then we had Strawberry Heritage. We have the Lebanon Railroad, which is by Kyle Moy. That one there, kind of representation of the trusses over like kind of Gill's Landing and whatnot. And then we have Strawberry Heritage, which is our very own Jenny Grove. Has celebrated the heritage to which we celebrate strawberries. I mean, it just kind of encompasses it all to how it is then and now. And for Lebanon's Freestyle, we had Angela Schuler that presented us with, it was just the concept at first was a veteran and having a child salute the veteran. And then what was brought to us was this gentleman is actually featured in this design here. His name's Paul, and he's actually one of the crossing guards for Pioneer. And he's a quite beloved veteran that is a resident of Lebanon. So that is his image that will be utilized for that design there. And of course, we're just asking that the council will ratify these designs, so we use them for our downtown district. As you can read there, the manhole covers that we will be replacing will be utilized for other developments in the city. So we're asking that you guys approve this so we can get our downtown more beautification done with it. We're also looking to hold kind of a fundraiser and to get those on prints. So you just take the manhole cover and then just put the kind of like screen printing, so to speak, so that we can get designs of these manhole covers on shirts so we can get those out to sell to people too. So
did the commission, I'm sorry, did the commission check with the company who actually makes these to make sure that those designs are, because I looked at a couple of them and I wasn't sure how they would look on, specifically the strawberry one was one because there's a lot of white, and I don't know if the white is relief or what that exactly.
So that would be relief, yeah. Thanks for bringing in things I can speak to. So what you're seeing there would be the relief aspect of that. With kind of when Gary was on the commission with us, obviously he had the manhole cover project they had done in Ketchum, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. So he was really specific, just speaking to us about when we do approve these, we want to make sure that the foundries, they're not going to be too detailed for the foundries. Right. And so, yes, that was discussed and especially was worked out with our graphic designer as well.
They look really nice.
What is the funding mechanism for that?
The same question.
I believe this would be, and you asked me a question I'm not 100% positive around, but I believe this is going to be coming kind of from our roads. So we would need, like I said, the old ones. I'm not sure, Ron, if I'm correct on that.
Yeah, so I think the idea was, if I read back right, was to try and budget for 5 a year. The city would budget for 5 a year, and we'll see what that is. I have no idea what the costs on them are. Okay. As far as repurposing the other ones, the other lids, mm-hmm. we would keep a couple of them, but all of our new structures comes with lids. So we might be able to get some scrap value out of it or something like that, out of the old ones. But they're cool designs.
They're so exciting. I mean, I really did not expect to just love them so much.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm like, really?
I was skeptical. It was hard to believe. But I really do love them.
They do look really
I was
nice.
excited about that.
Yeah.
And to see what our graphic designer was able to do with those designs was beautiful.
How many manholes do we need to replace in the downtown area to meet this project? I had to ask.
I believe it's 25, am I correct, or 28?
It's either 20 or 25,
Okay.
and you would do 5 of each. The thing we have to be careful of is it's probably going to go on like catch basins and whatnot that have the same style of lid, because I don't know that you want to put these out in the middle of the street.
Right.
Somebody would get ran
Yeah.
over looking at them.
Yeah.
So
That was my
But
concern.
the thought was to put them out in the street. I mean, because other communities have have like decorative covers within their streets. So
Yeah.
it was kind of a thought behind it. But if we have a different,
I think you can look at that. I think we could look at the catch basins that are on the sidewalk, and people would have a better opportunity to actually look at them.
Yeah.
So that's something that we can decide as we go through, though.
Separate conversation.
So did the Arts Commission look at 5 different designs for the next 5, or stay with the same?
so it'd be those 5 designs reproduced. Yes.
So 5 of each, essentially.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Very nice.
So.
Like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the other. I mean, all the projects have been fun, but to see this one come through and just kind of taking, like I said, those conceptual designs and seeing what a graphic designer can do with that, it's been really fun to kind of see the evolution of it. So
Exciting to see the art coming out of people in our community that
You
have
never
outlets
knew.
and do stuff, but it's they can share it with everybody. I really like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that
Same thing with the
aspect.
art boards.
Yes, same thing. Yeah, turkeys,
those
all
different
that.
things.
You find people that you never knew that were artists that are expressing themselves, maybe or even groups that come together and end up bringing that. So it's been a lot of fun to see people come out of the woodwork, so to speak. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So you guys can approve that and say yes, and
Okay.
I'm gonna leave that
We need a
there.
Yeah, you need a motion to approve the designs.
Move to approve.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the manhole cover designs from the Arts Commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
That's what I thought.
Approved.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm just
you.
kidding, guys. Thank you.
Okay, City Manager's report. Ron Whitlatch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm not going to go through the whole report. Gonna.
Go ahead.
Are you sure you don't
I
want me to go
apologize.
through
I
the whole
apologize
thing?
for my interruption.
Line by,
Said that.
yeah, okay.
Line by line.
Couple of highlights. I think I sent out an email to everybody that the Lebanon transfer station was closing.
Yes.
Okay, just to let you know that will probably be happening here in May. And Julie's back there if anybody's got any questions for her about that. She would be more than happy to answer. This was handed out by Alicia. This is something that they're requesting that City Council take a look at, maybe attend, sign up for. It's part of the RAIN program. If you want to know more about that, Alicia could probably give us more about that if anybody's interested in more of that. But I think Corey kind of covered that pretty well.
And from what I think he said, in case you weren't here, the Pitch Fest at 6 o'clock is kind of the thing that if you just wanted to go to show support and be there, I think that was the thing. The whole day is, I think, more for the actual entrepreneurs. Very cool.
And lastly, obviously the coronavirus has taken up some of our time. We're trying to plan as a staff. We've had some meetings to discuss how we're going to do that internally, what we're going to do. We have more meetings tomorrow with Library and Senior Center. Those are our key places, our key public facilities that we could see some of those issues. So we're on top of it. And we're kind of following what Lynn County Health recommends and trying to keep everybody calm.
Are you on the base camp for Lynn County Health?
I'm not.
I just signed up today. There's a base camp that you can sign up for to get alerts. Because they're getting hourly updates.
A ton of information out of LOC and also CIS. Okay. I mean, we're actually, I feel like we're getting
like overwhelmed. Yeah.
Much information.
It's a lot.
So probably just dealing with Lynn County Health is probably a better option for us.
One thing I wanted to bring up, and we haven't had this, and thank goodness, but what council will do if there's something serious and it turns into a pandemic, and people are restricted to their homes, and we kind of have this whole thing as a council. How do we operate? Because normally we would go into the Justice Center, and that's our disaster planning. But how would we operate One of the things I recommend, now that we all have iPads and internet access, because this really isn't related to a disaster, this is related to a medical issue, we would all still be able to communicate electronically and be safe and not have a public meeting per se. I don't know how that works. I don't know legally. We'll have to talk to probably Trey about that and see what we can do. Maybe there's some kind of alternative thing that we could call an executive session if there was some kind of issue that we had to deal with. But I just wanted to put that in the back of everybody's mind so we can just think about it and be prepared. I'm hoping that it doesn't come to that, and everybody washing their hands and trying to stay away from people, I think, is the best way. ABCs. And I noticed even at the DSA, very few people shook hands, very few people. Everybody was bumping elbows, and I had to wash my elbow. So.
Yeah.
But I don't mean to make fun of it. I know it's a serious issue, but we are looking at it. I know the staff they had a staff meeting today, and they've been talking about it extensively. So we will alert everybody as soon as we hear anything different.
The biggest thing is going to be when we close. So if there's I noticed that U of O closed their campuses today. Did OSU do the same?
OSU
yeah, I feel like
did
they'd
too.
follow suit. So at that point, what's the trigger? I'm asking this body, what is the trigger? I mean, is that something you want us to? I mean, we can follow Lynn County health guidelines.
I think the Lynn County would be the way to go, and then because they're really our health authority, our local.
Sure.
And then if we get that, then that'll be the trigger point where we close our offices, especially, we got the senior center, the library, those two are really critical.
Those are the ones that I'm thinking of, like those would be your first probably as city organizations.
Yeah.
There's a lot of critical people that still have to, those are some of the other discussions that we've had. We still have to make water, we still have to treat sewer,
Mm-hmm.
we still have to police, we still have to. Got a lot of people on dial-a-bus that are dependent on using the dial-a-bus to get to doctors and whatnot. Public Works is going to be a critical function to a degree. We could get by with a small crew if we had to, but just for emergency type stuff. But
And have we considered, especially if it got really bad, that we considered closing the front office of the city hall and then doing everything electronic?
We have. We don't have enough electronics for everybody to do that. Our directors all have electronics. I suppose there's maybe mechanisms that we could allow people to do that. I think really, and Frank and I kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday, if we're into a position where we're closing and everybody's home, we potentially could be an emergency operations center. I mean, and that's where we would be operating from, and it would be those who were healthy enough to do so, and go from there.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, it doesn't get to there, but we're thinking about it. And
I think one of the things moving forward, I know I reached out to you a couple weeks ago and asked to see what our plan was in terms of emergency operations, and I noticed that it was created in 2012, which is great. But, for example, like Comp Northwest is on the cover of it, but it's actually not included in the plan, which I found kind of interesting. It might be something, I think, that moving forward, that it should probably rise to something that we revisit again, just in light of this. And I know pandemic, those are probably pieces that are, again, that we follow the Lynn County Health Authority, or Health Department, with, but...
it's actually on our list to budget this year to do some tabletops. We got a lot of new directors that are here. Frank and Jason and I have had quite a bit of training on it, and we kind of take it for granted, I think, a little bit. And everybody else is like, oh, you guys haven't had that training. Oh, we should bring you along.
And
show
I know
you how.
The last time we talked about this, I think we talked about the council being involved in some of the tabletop stuff, so we could at least have some experience because it's critical, because we're going to have to be making decisions if it's an earthquake or another type of a disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. We were just talking about this, of doing just that, of tabletop exercises, bringing council in, because, you guys will be in your own room, little caucus area, but, it'd be interesting for you guys to see what our EOC actually looks like when it's fully open and operating.
Yeah.
I think council should have to take NIMS 1, 2, 3, and 400.
Oh man,
I would agree with that. Yeah,
I think that would
I
be
looked
good.
at it once.
It's better than a jail tour, Michelle. Trust me.
I did the jail tour.
You gotta take those. Yeah. So anyway, we'll keep you posted on what we're doing. Obviously, if something comes up or if we see something, everybody's going to get an email. You guys, council and mayor, will get an email of, and maybe even at some point some guidance if we think that there's, it's a toss-up. So.
Do we know what those, what both the library and the senior center are doing in terms of disinfecting and?
Yes, they are cleaning. I don't remember how frequently, but it's multiple times a day. We're cleaning our buses, our dial buses, multiple times a day. And the same thing with the senior center.
Meals on Wheels affected? I saw something on TV about Portland, and it concerned me a little bit about our.
Well, they use our facility. How would they be affected? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have a.
That's true because we don't actually operate it. We just provide the facility.
I guess it would be up to them to say whether they're not going to do
That'll be
it
a
or
Lynn
not
County
do it.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
We doing anything to entrance to City Hall for sterilization? Entry door?
The folks up front have got Lysol and they're wiping it down constantly, wiping the doors down and stuff. But, same stuff we should be doing during flu season.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
During flu season?
Yeah, we're in flu season. So.
Exactly.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I just have just a little, speaking on homelessness, and I forgot to mention this before, but it's on the early stages. I've been to, I think, one meeting now, but basically what it is the Oregon's Association of Chiefs, Police, and Sheriffs are joining together. So we have different entities from the sheriff to different counties to chiefs to captains. Basically what we're doing is we're coming together as a group to tackle these issues that she was just talking about in regards to homelessness and behavioral issues. And what I find interesting, and I don't mean to toot our own horn, but Lebanon is far ahead of some major areas that are surrounding of what we've done already in preparation, for instance, the downtown and taking care of some, the problematic people, exclusionary zones, camping. We were already kind of already there, and they're just now kind of starting to talk about it. So I found that very interesting. Of course, it was the first very early stages of meeting, but just so we're aware, every city and county is looking at this issue, and it's an issue everywhere, not just here, but everywhere. So I just wanted to throw that out there. There's more meetings to come, and so I'm hoping to gain more information as what other law enforcement agencies are up to.
Is it going to be a monthly thing, or?
Right now it's at a quarterly. It's hard to get all of us together in the same room. So, but the first meeting was very intriguing. What Hillsborough was doing for their trail system, and they came back with some ideas and been talking with Trey on a few things. So,
good.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting stuff.
Anything else?
No, I think that's
Okay.
that's it.
And any items from council? I'll mention that we had since you folks all voted on the museum, that we had a museum event with Tony Farquhar, came and talking about the Sanham Wagon Trail that runs right through town, goes all the way over to Bend, and we had, it was a full house, and we turned away about 30 or 40 people. Wow. There were that many. It was just unbelievable, especially with all that's going on with the people being sick and stuff. It was pretty amazing. It was a great presentation. And of course, we're planning on some other activities, a trivia night coming up and some other fun stuff. So great thing with that. Any other items, council? Items from the press? Any questions? All right. Next scheduled meetings, March 25th is a noon work session on the URD financing funding for the new city hall. And at that point, we'll adjourn.